Here are some of the answers to the present status and future of Trinidad and Tobago football. It began with a tour of the Home of Football and Entertainment Center sports bar, followed by an interview of David John Williams. David John Williams here, and he's a man of many titles, so maybe you should tell the public the titles and all the different accolades you have.
No, I just stick with what is relevant right now. I'm David John Williams, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. Yes, I know in my life I've had many titles, but let's just stick for the moment as President of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association.
So David, seeing that we're on the football, you have this upcoming project that I just was lucky and fortunate enough and honored that they gave me the privilege to take a look at the, what you call as the Home of Football, and that's Trinidad and Tobago.
This is the lobby.
The lobby for what building?
Reception, the Home of Football, 72 room hotel.
Okay, so this is the reception area.
Reception area.
Okay. Very soon, ladies and gentlemen, the Home of Football, Trinidad and Tobago, will be on the map. When is the key date? When is the completion date for this project?
We are actually virtually completed the project. We're just about at the stage of outfitting. So I guess in a couple of weeks' time, we should be opening our doors. Again, it's the Home of Football, a project that Trinidad and Tobago football ought to be proud of, despite all the distractions. It's a 72-room facility with ancillary buildings, dormitory for boys and girls, kitchen area, dining area for youths, outdoor dining for seniors, medical room, executive suites, etc., etc. And that's part one of the project, and part two of the project is an income generation sports bar and entertainment center with 3/4 acre of paved space, built-in stage, viewing pavilion, 2,800 square feet of commercial space, all in keeping with income generation to have fetes, you name it, weddings, viewing parties, all that stuff like that, and of course there's the beach soccer pitch. So it's a fully integrated facility, and I myself am particularly proud of it on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, and it's indeed looking forward to the opening.
The concept and is that your brainchild? Is it incorporated? Where the whole concept came from?
Well, the concept is, I've worked along the concept with plus a young architect guy, the name of Anton Chase, along with myself and a team who really tried to put together a very simple, efficient, but relevant project. For example, if you look around the facility, you see that there is a utility corridor, so maintenance of air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, is you don't have to interfere with the room. So it's an open type of concept, yet it meets all the required standards of a first-class hotel. And the question will arise, why a hotel? The Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, over the years, during my tenure so far, we have spent over $7 million in accommodating our men's national team, our women's team, our boys' team, and that's not even operating at full capacity. So immediately, this facility saves us millions of dollars in going out for accommodation for our national teams. Secondly, it affords us the opportunity to host international tournaments, youth and senior. If you notice, Trinidad and Tobago football have not been playing a lot of international games at home, and that's because we just can't afford it. Now with this facility, we could afford it. And along with the 3 training pitches which we have already built on the facility, as well as the 3 additional pitches which we will build, along with the stadium, the Ato Boldon Stadium, which we have full access to, it's an international facility that will allow Trinidad and Tobago to be on the world map and to compete with anybody in CONCACAF in terms of facilities and hosting tournaments.
Okay, so the whole concept is basically accommodating activities, accommodating fetes, as in parties that the outside world would know. Okay, date is 2 days, 2 weeks. You have a specific date in mind? Or?
No, to be quite honest, we are just waiting on FIFA to set the date for opening. Just to expand on that, It's a fully FIFA-funded project. The Trinidad and Tobago Football Association does not have a loan to pay back. I also want to commend the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, who granted a 60-year lease on 17.5 acres of prime land, so to speak, that facilitated the construction of this facility. So at the end of the day, the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association will be in a much stronger position.
It will be world class.
Association that I inherited as a president, and a number of court cases that we have inherited, and the large debt. But this facility now affords the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association to leverage against it in order to pay down its debt and earn much needed revenue outside of the traditional way of our football. We keep depending on the government and the Treasury of Trinidad and Tobago to support our football and FIFA grants and CONCACAF grants. That's not enough. We have a facility here now that outside of housing our national team, I'll just give you a quick calculation. It's a 72-room facility, as I said, and if you look and you rent 42 rooms, you keep 30 for your national teams, and you rent 42 rooms at 65% occupancy throughout the year for $70, that's an additional revenue of $1.5 million. That can now go to the developing our proper youth program, funding our program, funding all our national teams and all that stuff like that. So we have taken the approach of a bottom-up approach. We may not have been getting the results on the pitch, but I like to compare St. George's. England built St. George's in 2012. Similar type of facilities, training pitches, accommodations and all that stuff like that. And it took them 5 years, 2017, and they started to beat the world at youth level. They won everything in the European Championship at youth level. They won the Youth World Cup on under 17 and under 20. So it's no secret. England is one of the top footballing nations in the world. And why Trinidad and Tobago can't follow that concept and develop from the ground up. And I think in 5 to 7 years' time, we'll be back at the top of Caribbean football, and I dare say competed at the highest level in CONCACAF.
So, based on that, you have an itinerary based on your opening, which seemed to be pretty soon. What happens after the opening? You have any hosting of any tournaments? You have anything, or just the national
away,
program will come?
Right away, we are scheduled to host the CONCACAF Under 17 Women Championship in March. That's a major tournament which is normally held at IMG in Bradenton, which is a major international facility where CONCACAF has been hosting all their tournaments. And then we have the Under 14 Challenge coming up for boys later on in October, which we will host immediately. That's a 16 tournament. And there are a number of tournaments which we have applied to host next year. Additionally, we have had a lot of interest from swimming, cycling to host events here, because we are ideally located next to the Cycling Velodrome and the Aquatic Center, where international swim teams will come to train in the winter break. Mm-hmm. So we have had a lot of inquiries, and we've had inquiries from boxing as well. A number of sports have approached us because of this facility. And again, we see very positive signs for the future of Trinidad and Tobago football, not only from hosting our men's national team, our women's national team, our boys' national teams, but other sporting disciplines which we're going to support the upkeep of this facility.
So that has been coordinated. What is the relationship with these other associations and organizations within Trinidad and Tobago? Do you think you have some sort of assurance that once they have something that's big enough that they would, because you would think with something as new as this and as high-tech as this, is it affordable? I know it would be generating revenue. You think you would have the locals kind of supporting the facilities to also generate revenue?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think any hotel in town, so to speak, in local parlance, could compete with our facility in terms of pricing, because, again, the land that the facility is on, we don't have a loan to pay back on it. We pay $1 a year. And then the money that has been utilized to build this facility is FIFA forward funds, so we do have to pay back a loan. Mm-hmm. So everything goes to a bottom line after operations, so that we can go very, very low on our rates and at the same time still maintain a facility. So it's not a question of sending a threat to anybody, it's the reality. So the other national sporting bodies now have a tremendous opportunity that rather than go to the Hyatt and the Radissons and the Hiltons and all that stuff like that, they have a very good facility which can compete with the likes of the hotels that I just called that are ideally located and is cheaper.
Okay, so that kind of wrap that side up in terms of the accommodation, all the different sporting entities and disciplines. So now we go into the football side. So you have the foundation now, you're catering for everybody. So which way, you have, let's deal with the senior side. You have the senior team. I think most of the critics, they tend to come at you from the senior team football side, to be honest. Do you have anything that they seem not to understand from your point of view?
Well,
because I always like to hear it from the top, because as an administrator you need to understand that sometimes people don't really get the information.
I like your question, and I like to pose a question in answering your question. Has Trinidad and Tobago football won anything at CONCACAF level? The answer is no. We have never won a CONCACAF title. We have never won a HEX. We have qualified once for a World Cup in 111 years. And that 111 years we played in 2 under-17 World Cups, one of which we hosted, automatically qualified, and one which we qualified for. We qualified for 2 under-20 World Cups in 111 years, one in Portugal with the Dwight York team, and one when they played in Egypt. So we haven't been a country who have been setting the world on fire, in that like a Brazil who have won 5 World Cups and have played in every World Cup final or so on. So the critics tend to always criticize Trinidad and Tobago, but we have never won anything at CONCACAF level in 111 years. Yes, granted, we have not gotten the results on the pitch, but football is a cycle, and there will always be critics in football. Let's examine the last World Cup. The United States didn't go to the World Cup. Italy, Sweden, Holland, they are top 10, top 15 nations, didn't go to the World Cup. Football is a cycle. You understand? We were close in 72. We were close in 89. We made it in 2006. But other than that, we are not a country that qualifies for the World Cup every time around. But we tend to be very critical. And football has cycles. Football does have cycles. But we live in a society of instant gratification and results oriented, and that's all they care about. But they never understand what the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association has been going through, the debt it has been left with, and we're coming out of a difficult situation, and it will take us 15, 20 years to get back on our feet. I don't have to go into any detail like explaining why it has been so. It is well documented why the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association is in the state that it's in. But at the end of the day, the highest president will get the stick for it, and I'm prepared to take the stick for it. But the point about it, I am happy that the administration which I head is doing something about it.
Beyond the administration level, and granted, as you say, the results were never really there. Based on the results not being there and stuff, what does the future look like?
Well, to answer your question, we have to take a bottom-up approach to Trinidad and Tobago football rather than the top-to-bottom approach that we have always taken. Everything has always been revolved around the senior team, and rightly so, because of the fact that it's your flagship team and it's a team that will earn some revenue for us. At least under my administration, has been earning tremendous revenue. But at the end of the day, if you look around, we don't have players playing at the highest level as it was in the 90s and the early 2000s. A lot of our players, we have two or three players playing in the MLS. And we're not really setting the world on fire in terms of players, and that is probably the cycle that we're at. It's again difficult to get into Europe because of all the restrictions and laws and people trying to be very protection of the leagues and so on. So we have to take the bottom-up approach. So we now can set up a national academy as a result of these facilities, start building from under 8, under 10, under 11, and look forward to a target, whether it's 2030, whether it's 2034, or whether it's 2026. This facility allows us to plan better. This facility allows us to train better. This facility allows us to monitor the players better. This facility allows us to host international tournaments, so we have more international games, so the players will improve and playing at international level will become commonplace for them. So there's a lot of rippling effect and spin-off effects for this facility, in addition to earning the much-needed revenue, which will be able to staff our national teams properly, pay our coaches properly, and the rest, is history.
Okay. So now if I revert away from which you make sense there with it first. So you basically talk about development, and today I saw only here to learn, and I think the public abroad, and a person getting a lot of questions traveling, and you have a lot of Trinidad and Tobago nationals abroad who seem to be asking me what's the status in a dejected way. Maybe you need to mention what these national programs, because I don't think people understand that you do have youth national programs. And even just now I heard about it and it was new to me. In terms of your national youth programs, where does it start from? And
we have started at under 9 right now, but I just want to fast forward a bit. We just hosted an invitational tournament for our under 15 boys, a team that we have been training since under 13. It was supported by NLCB, the National Youth Development Program. And we hosted Mexico, Panama, and Venezuela here in a 4-team tournament. And I just want to put it in perspective. The team did relatively well. We did not win the tournament, but in terms of application of play and so on, we saw progress. We went on to the under 15 boys championship in Bradenton in Florida. We lost our games, but we saw some progress. But at the end of the day, let me put it in perspective. The Mexican team that played in the under 15 invitational tournament, when we played them, that was their 13th international for this year. And how much it was for Trinidad? Our 3rd. So it just goes to show that we are way behind the 8 ball, and we have to start building and looking for more international games. When you reach age 18, you should have already played 70 internationals at youth level. That's why we are way behind the 8 ball. So people need to understand that as a country, as a small country, we are punching way above our weight class. That does not mean to say that we must be satisfied with mediocrity, but we have to put the infrastructure in place and put the relevant things in place in order to achieve the results. You look at Europe. The 50 countries in Europe are way ahead in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of infrastructure and development. You add another 10 countries in South America, they're way ahead of us. You add another 3 countries in CONCACAF, they're way ahead of us. You had a couple of countries in Asia, like Japan and Korea, they're way ahead of us. So we need to understand that we're behind the 8 ball, and we have to set the foundation right. The Trinidad and Tobago football has never been built on rock, it has been built on sand. And this is what this administration is trying to do. Put the infrastructure in place, put the programs in place, put the money in place to support the programs, and at the end of the day, we will get results. We may not win everything, and we cannot win everything, and football is like that. But at the end of the day, we could be more consistent.
So you're back to the under. You said you had under 9 and
under 9, under 11, under 13, under 15,
under 15.
So
right now, based on your information, the focus was on the under 15 going into the tournaments and stuff.
Yes.
So the other part is really development.
Development. Yes.
They're not into any sort of major exposure right now.
No, just development. We're into development.
Okay. Now with that development and your hosting, I can see. So what's the premise? Seeing that you want to build from the ground up, what's the really premise from the under 15 to the national? What about the under 20 or an Olympic team? What's the status with those?
Again, I got a lot of flack as president for not participating in the men's Olympic qualifiers. The reality is the Olympics it's much more difficult than qualifying for a World Cup, because
open up a lot.
It's only 2 spots that are allowed to the CONCACAF region. But how you could send a team to an Olympic qualifying when you have had no preparation, when you don't have the funding to have a team in training? At the end of the day, if we send a team to play in the Olympic qualifiers and they get beaten, they'll say, we ain't doing nothing good. The coach will say, I never get any preparation. So why throw good money behind bad money? So at the end of the day, the Olympic team was not in training, and there is no way the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association or any football association in the region can support 11 national teams. So if you want to count 11 national teams, you have men's senior team, women's senior team, men's under 23, women's under 23, women under 20, men's under 20, boys under 15, women under 15, you have futsal, you have beach soccer, you have boys under 17, girls under 17. So there's no way this association could support 11 national
From
teams.
A budgetary
From a
point.
budget of that. It takes us 42 million just to support our national team, in all our national teams properly. So you know, we have lived in a society where we expect everything. We live in a society where money was not a problem, but money is a problem right now worldwide. The economy is going through difficult times. The funding from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is not as before. But again, at the same time, you have to credit the government for facilitating this facility that we have. So we continue to harp and talk and all that stuff like that. But it's difficult to live in a society now and understand it. But I can deal with it because the advent of social media has given everybody a voice, and everybody can say anything about anybody on social media.
That's
and
right.
have a voice. And we pay too much attention to social media. At the end of the day, as president, I feel very confident in the work that we have done. We may not have been very perfect, but I think we're doing something proper. And I dare say this facility that has been constructed by the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association is the biggest thing since qualification for World Cup in 2026. And I make no apologies for saying that.
Okay. Now, in naming all those programs and stuff, it's just like you had a perspective or in brainstorming with your accommodation. Do you have any foresight in terms of seeing that the under 15 or on the Olympic team was budgetary, which people have to understand, because not just this association, that happens throughout the world in terms of people have to determine in terms of preparation and readiness to compete. So within that, knowing everything you have, what's the prognosis in terms of where your strengths are, what the public could look forward to from Trinidad and Tobago football based on everything? What's the premise? What people could look on? And I'm talking about not just locals, also but people outside. As I say, I've been getting questions. So what could they look out to support in terms of representation?
First of all, I like to tell the fans, you always want to be proud of any national team that you support, whether it's football, whether it's the men's senior national team, whether it's the boys under 17, whether it's the girls under 17, whether it's the women's senior national team, whether it's in basketball, cricket, football, anything of a sort. Any national would like to be proud of the red, white, and black, and rightly so. But at the end of the day, we need to understand where we were at, where the pitfall of 2006 after qualified for a World Cup. The Trinidad and Tobago Football Association don't own a parrot and a stick, and it's 111 years old. I repeat, we did not own a parrot and a stick, and we're 111 years old. We didn't have the infrastructure in place to support where football is supposed to go. A home for football is best practice worldwide, and we never saw the importance of it. There was supposedly a home built for Trinidad and Tobago football, but it doesn't belong to Trinidad and Tobago. So what do we look forward to? Go directly to your question. We are going to prepare our national teams better. We have the opportunity now for preparing the young players better for international competitions. We have the opportunity
Which
now.
one is better prepared? Which one in those
In
categories?
teams,
Yeah.
I think so far our boys under 15 team is probably the best prepared of the lot, and we expect good things from those boys, except that we feel that they have to have more international exposure. Whereas, we have the secondary schools football league here, which is an institution in Trinidad and Tobago football. I don't think it is doing its justice, because the quality is not as before. I mean, people will be very critical of this statement, but I make no apologies for saying that, because that's a fact. In modern day football, clubs develop the youth players. And the difference between a Mexico Trinidad youth team and a Trinidad youth team is that they have a professional approach, a professional mentality. All these players are in professional clubs. The difference between a Portugal under 15 and a Trinidad and Tobago under 15 is that they are in professional clubs from a very early age. And it goes back to, I distinctly remember when we hosted the under 17 World Cup here in 2001. And the likes of Tevez and Mascherano and all these players were playing for Argentina. And when you looked at the roster, you see Tevez, Boca Juniors, Mascherano, Boca Juniors. But we were seeing the Kenman Jones and the Jamaica Williams St. Anthony's and Naparima College. And that's a big difference. And I'm talking way back in 2001, and it hasn't changed.
But that's hard to circumvent. That is a whole.
Yes, it's hard to circumvent, but unless we as the stakeholders don't get together. A classic example is Costa Rica. Costa Rica has done away from school football and gone professional approach, and they're getting results.
So what you're proposing with the educational part of the schooling?
Yes, I mean you go to school for education. I'm not saying do not play secondary schools football. I'm not saying that, for example, but there should be a level. Okay, we keep this at under 16 level, and then secondary schools is governed by the Ministry of Education. So just.
But don't you think the answer to that is just working together?
Yeah, the answer.
Because if it worked before, if it worked before and it was the same structure.
But you see,
you might say the talent level is not there, but what I'm saying, you're talking a structural change, right?
Well, you see, at the end of the day, the quality is not there. I mean, you have probably 30 or 40 schools playing secondary school football. You don't have the number of quality players that are available. And I just want to fast forward to what the United States of America and Klinsmann did. They are getting away from high school football and college football, and the clubs have gone to academies. You just see recently the US launching a national academy competition so that the players could have a better professional approach. Yeah. I mean, Jurgen Klinsmann said the players coming to play professional football at age 21 and 22 are coming too late, and we just can't seem to understand that. And the problem in our society is that we have a monopoly on what I call a fraternity called the secondary schools, and we do intend to change and work together to make it happen.
But how bona fide are the clubs? I mean, the clubs you're talking about in the US, like MLS clubs and stuff, and even the universities, the scholarship, their program, their football / programs are solid and I can't, supported by alumni program.
I can't disagree with you.
What are the clubs in Trinidad?
I can't disagree with that statement at all. And that we have to play a lot more emphasis
on the clubs that have a better structure.
Yes, we have to play more emphasis. And you know, I get a lot of flack for saying what I'm saying, but where's Malvern? Where's Maple? Where's Paragon? Where's Colts? Where's Shamrock? Where are all these teams that are 100 and something years old? They are no longer in the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago football. One would expect that these clubs who are 100 years old or 70 years old will be part of an institution of Trinidad and Tobago football, but they are no longer there.
Yeah, but you have Queen's Park.
Yeah, but they have Queen's Park, but Queen's Park is only one.
You have Harvard.
You have Harvard, but are they playing any top division football?
Because they moved from what their
core their core was, and at the end of the day, the professional game in Trinidad and Tobago is centered around a number of new clubs who are trying to develop the business of professional football.
So let's talk about the clubs. Let's talk about the clubs. Yeah, what clubs are ready for your type of program that you want to implement?
There are one or two. There are one or two clubs that
is that enough to absorb the secondary school system?
No, it's not enough. But at the end of the day, we have to play a lot more emphasis on the professional game. And unless we do professionalize the game from bottom up, which the association now is trying to do, we are going nowhere fast. So it's not an easy situation to cure overnight.
Yeah, but Mr. Williams, in fairness to you and your professionalism, and in knowing you over a period of time, I don't think there are many clubs operated like your club. And whereas maybe you have that type of vision and probably can take on that type of responsibility, from my knowledge and thing with the clubs here, I don't think it's a good idea, as you say, for the US and everybody, but although it's in print, you have to have the clubs at that level for the secondary schools or whatever to go into that.
Yeah, but I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that statement. But at the same time, we seem not wanting and willing to do something.
No, you have to entertain the thought.
You have to entertain it. We're not willing to deal with it.
So can you help the clubs?
And that's what the TTFA is trying to do right now, to assist the clubs to becoming more professional, solidify the league, make the league self-sustainable. And the owners have to step up to the plate. They have invested a lot of money. There are some clubs who have been able to sustain it. There are some clubs who have taken a real top professional approach, as you said. But at the end of the day, we don't have a market of the US, so we don't have a market as Mexico. So we have to become more innovative, and people tend to only criticize because the national team is not doing well. but have they investigated why the national team is not doing well? The professional game has taken a hit in the last 18 months. I mean, so far the league has not been able to start, and I feel sorry for Dennis Lawrence because there is no outlet for the players. And you find that a lot of our players now are going to India to play, and going to places like Honduras and getting small money to play.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, so it's really a difficult situation to accept. But the fans do tend to go into depth as I would go to. All they care about is the results on the pitch, and the administration have to take the flak for it. Yes, it comes with the territory, but at the end of the day, I feel very confident as a president of the association that we are making steps in the right direction. We are making baby steps, so to speak, but the baby steps are significant, and Trinidad and Tobago football would be in a better place.
Okay. So in wrapping up now, see that you went from the bottom up when we started with you have a game against, I think, Honduras on the 10th. How was the prognosis for that? How you feel about that?
I feel okay, based on the performance of the last couple of games against Martinique. We drew 1-1 in Martinique. We blew a 2-goal lead against Martinique at home, having a chance to really win the game by a wider margin. It is so in football, there's a thin line between success and failure. In football, there's the result and then there's the performance. The performance was very good against Martinique in Trinidad, but the result did not go our way. And we just have to hold steady. So long as we get core players there, we can compete. Go to Honduras, get a result, whether it's a draw or a win, and come home and try to qualify and to the final four of the Nations League. Honduras is a top country, but football is on the day. I believe the ball is wrong. The size of the goal is the same. It's 11 versus 11, and it comes down to who wants it on the day and who applies themselves the best on the day. Admittedly, we don't have the quality that we've had before, but I think with some determination, there's the opportunity to do well. We have been playing top 50 nations, getting some decent results, although we're on the wrong side of against Wales. We conceded late 1-0. Against Japan, we held them 0-0. And we have a couple of big international coming up. We're playing Mexico shortly, and then we're playing Venezuela after the Honduras game. So we're playing some top 50 nations, and I think that augurs well for Trinidad and Tobago football. We just have to continue building from the ground up, and those youth players who graduate from under 15, under 17 will be going into a national senior team better prepared in terms of international games that they would have been competing in. And hopefully, as I said, this Home of Football will be the catalyst for change in Trinidad and Tobago football.
So how you merit the emergence of Curacao and because, as I say, these are the teams that I cover, and these are the teams that I see the personnel.
Well,
and whereas you're saying you're not as good as before and stuff, these are teams and small countries that seem to be getting some assistance from somewhere because the personnel are very much up to speed.
Very good question. If you look at the Curacao national team, not one player is playing domestically in Curacao because they are playing now, all of them because of their Dutch background, and they're playing in Holland. You look at a lot of teams, Suriname, for example, are going back to Holland which were formerly colonized by Holland, and looking for players. I mean, I know St. Lucia, for example, have explored the opportunity of bringing back 6 or 7 players with St. Lucia roots who are playing in England. Trinidad now is taking that approach. We just brought in Carr and a couple other players. So people are now, in order to compete with more football and the Nations League and World Cup qualifying and the high stakes and the amount of money in football that allows you to qualify, when you qualify for tournaments, a lot of smaller countries are now searching and using the grandma clause, so to speak, whether their grandparent was born in Grenada or their grandparent was born in Curacao. You look at the Curacao national team, and Curacao doesn't have a strong domestic league, but they're just bringing all the players who are playing abroad and getting the results. So
the reason why I asked that question is for the people abroad and
other
people who don't understand how small, whether they call it small island, which makes no sense to me, without checking personnel. And I think Trinidad and Tobago right now are feeling the brunt of that because people are not checking personnel, they're not looking at the exact game, and maybe that is where the negativity and the critics coming in because they're not really doing the homework. So I wanted to hear you answer the question.
So that you can educate them.
Because that answer is really out there, but they don't really care to get
they
the
don't care about
information.
it. They don't care about it, and unfortunately don't. It is what it is. Trinidad and Tobago maybe have to take that approach right now. We have to.
Because
in local parlance, we have to go with torchlight to look for them.
Yeah, you need personnel.
So we have to go with torchlight to look for them. So again, at the end of the day,
so it's no immediate fix.
No immediate fix.
In asking about the Honduras and listening to your answer, you say you're just gonna try your best. You can only give your best, you know, and hopefully everything can kick in from the bottom up. Basically, that's how.
That's the harsh reality. And as I said earlier in the interview, we ask for patience and understand that we are punching way above our weight class, and all we ask of our national teams and our players that we give our best on the pitch.
But you ask for your supporters, which is
we
the
ask
ones
for
who
support.
are reveling right
Yes,
now.
I mean, that's the beauty about England. Regardless of whether England is doing well or not doing well, the stands are full. And that's what we call loyalty, and that's the important. And unless you have that 12th man behind you, I mean, it dreams you, it does not inspire you. But the minute that you start to win 2 games, everybody say, why are you supporting the national team all the time, you know? And when you can't get a ticket to go into the stadium, it's another story. They can't even have enough ticket for me to go in the stadium and this and that.
So that hasn't changed, right?
That
Going into
hasn't
the
changed.
Honduras game, I wouldn't, even if I see a full stadium, the support wouldn't.
I'll be shocked. I'll be the most shocked person.
But I saw a full stadium and the support wasn't there when the women's team lost that game, yeah.
Exactly.
So if you don't even have it, but how you gonna? I remember talking to the Pro League president and stuff about that, and he thought it was a holistic approach to everything else. How do you get your support? How are you guys gonna go? Because the 12th man is important.
One of the things that I see is that we have to re-engineer ourselves. We live in a society that is changing every day. The cell phone has become 15 years ago, who would think that you'll be watching a football game on a cell phone? Everything is an app. We have to re-engineer ourselves. We have to get the game into the rooms of the younger people and make it palatable that they will want to be part of that event. I think the football has to change. You look at the CPL and cricket, and it's now a big party rather than cricket. So yes, the cricket is part of it, but at the end of the day, it's one big party, and you're creating an event where people I want to be there.
But it's not that way with the other football/soccer cultures.
Well, because the culture is ingrained in them. If you look at England,
in Trinidad and Tobago.
No, in soccer, no, it's not. Let's use the example of England. You watch somebody who's a fan of Arsenal.
Why don't we just draw it with the Caribbean, like Jamaica and stuff, which is closer, and it's not the same?
Well, generally, Jamaicans seem to be much more patriotic. They are suffering as well in terms of the number of people that are going to the stadium. And for example, people are looking at the secondary schools.
They put up putting them at the end.
Yeah, the secondary schools league for the moment. Looked at a game recently. Fatima versus somebody this weekend, 70 people. St. Mary's versus 100.
How much is Pro League getting?
Probably getting 50, but at the end of the day, you look at a college as an institution as St. Mary's or a Fatima, an institution as 125 years old, where every year 100 students pass through. You just think about that fraternity.
Is it fraternity that is support, yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day, that is why secondary school football seem to have much more commercial support, because somebody from Naprima or somebody from Fatima or somebody from St. Mary's is the CEO at Coca-Cola or is the CEO at Digicel, and they're supporting their alma mater. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a harsh reality. Mm-hmm. And people don't like to hear me talk because they think I'm brash, harsh and thing, but I'm just talking what is the facts. I mean, I went to Naprima College Naprima College is my alma mater, and I supported the Naprima football program for 10, 15 years, in the good old days when they now started to, when we brought back the glory to Naprima College. And I say that, and I supported them. But at the same time, I will support professional football ahead of Naprima College, because I think it's more important for Trinidad and Tobago football as the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. But at the same time, I cannot turn a blind eye or be critical of Naprima College playing in a league that is bona fide. All I am saying is that we need to change our approach to the secondary schools. We need to have a youth competition that is 10 months old. FIFA is telling you and telling everybody your national youth competition is supposed to play for at least 10 months.
But if you having these directives from FIFA, which is that's how the whole fraternity works. FIFA do the directive, whether it's media and anything else, that's how it works. Exactly you saying it. Why isn't it not channeled down on a working unity basis?
And I'll answer that question to you. Anytime you're doing that, which this president is trying to do, he don't like football. It's opposition. We live in a politically...
And they don't know it's coming from FIFA directive?
Yes, we live in a politically charged atmosphere when it comes to football in Trinidad and Tobago. And anytime you challenge what we consider the status quo, we're talking a lot of rubbish. So how do you compete? If you tell me who's the champion school in Mexico, you tell me who the champion school in Costa Rica, you tell me who's the champion school in Germany, you tell me who's the champion school in England, tell me who's the champion school in the US. I mean, answer that, but I can tell you who the champion school in Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica, and we are suffering the effects of that. And unless we intend to change that, you think any coach who has won 3 championships at secondary schools in Trinidad and Tobago, he goes to Germany and says on my resume, I win 5 school championships in Trinidad and Tobago. They will laugh at them. But if you go and say I've won 5 national titles at the professional youth level, they will take notice. At the end of the day, we need to be understand and be fair and willing to change. We are way behind the 8 ball, and we have to change our approach and take a unified approach and understand what the world needs for Trinidad and Tobago to improve.
In terms of the presidency, the term is there election?
Yeah, my term comes in on November 24th. As an individual, I'm yet to make that decision whether I will contest again.
Are you honest? Is that an honest?
No, it's a very honest statement. If I did not have a family, I would have said yes, I would have gone back into it, but I have to consider my family. I have to consider what my family has gone through, unjustly so, over the past 4 years that I have been president. Yes, I have a tremendous amount of support from more people, but the smallest unsatisfied group or the opponents make the loudest noise, and they say the wildest thing. I mean, I have been accused as a president who, when the Home of Football is being built by a president of an organization within the football fraternity, that I am funneling money, US dollars, through a hardware to get kicked back. I mean, how do you deal with something like that goes in the public space, and you have a son going to school and it's not the truth? How do you deal in the public space that FIFA gives you 20 million to build this facility here and say that the TTFA can account for 16 million, so we had to be built out of spit? How do you deal with that on social media, and how do you deal with people who are supposedly supporting Trinidad and Tobago football or want to take the opportunity to lead Trinidad and Tobago football, putting that in the public space, and you have a son going to school, and the first thing somebody will say, your father is a crook, when it's not like that. So it's something very, there's no thanks in giving being volunteering service as president of a NSO and getting that kind of flack for it when you're trying to do your best for Trinidad and Tobago football. I just would like to close by saying that when I became president, the asset base of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association was $197,000 TT dollars. And if I leave in the morning, you have an asset base of over 100 million that can earn revenue for you. Once you have assets, you can earn revenue. If that is not performance, well, I don't know what is.
Okay. All right, and that is well said. And but in leadership, you know, you had to have the broad shoulders and take, but I understand that personal family thing is serious. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah, thanks
All right,
again.
so I wish you all the best.
No
still.
problem.
All right.
Right.
Yes. I think they get all the information they can get you. Mr. President, I want to wish you all the best on the game against Honduras. And in taking a look, a tour of your home of football here, I think is at international standard. And I wish I could get the actual date when it's opening, but I think people are going to be pleased with the facility.
I have no doubt, and thanks for
Right.
the opportunity of saying a few words that will spread the message to not only our local football fans but people internationally. And I also look forward to the day that this opens and maybe welcoming you back for the opening ceremony.